Hi everyone, welcome back to Channeling Luxury. So this video is a little bit different than anything else I've done so far on this channel. It's a conversation that I've had with my daughter and I've had with a couple of friends, some colleagues who needed some advice, but nothing I've ever talked about here, obviously, but I think it's really worth having a conversation. And a few of you have asked me for this on my Instagram page, how to go into a luxury goods store, not be intimidated, know, because you do know, and feel like you belong there and get over imposter syndrome, where we feel like we are not enough, we don't belong, we're not good enough, and so on. So I thought I would do a video on some of my own experiences, some things I've learned from fashion advisors, sales associates across many different brands. Some of the things I've seen, good and not so good, experiences of others that have been kind enough to share with me, and what I would do about them, so that you can get over, if you want to go into Chanel, Hermes, Dior, Van Cleef, Rolex, do it. Do it. You don't need to have the cash in your handbag or on your credit card. And it's really hard to justify, if you can't pay it off in just a couple of months, spending the amount of money we have to spend on luxury goods to get them. And if you want to window shop or you want to go in and you want to buy a card holder that's a few $100s, you should do that without feeling as though that was somehow less than a fantastic opportunity for you and that you didn't feel good about it. So one of the things I've noticed is very long lines, right? So during COVID, when stores reopened, they did it in a really, I think, ridiculous. I don't like it. And I know some people in corporate at the boutiques, the luxury designers, that don't like it. So it's not just those of us who are shopping. I don't like the line thing. I think it's off-putting. I think it makes people feel excluded. I think the brands do it on purpose. That's only my opinion, okay? I have nothing to back that up. That's not from any FA or any SA or anyone that's worked anywhere. That's my opinion. When you walk by a store and you see a line of 20 people, you're going to think there's something really special in there, or there's something very exclusive in there. What is in there that I want? That's a natural human reaction. And if you have to wait an hour, I remember waiting in Hermes, or I didn't wait in Hermes because I said, forget this. I texted my sales associate and got an appointment, like, this is dumb, right? I'm not gonna wait in this line. For 4.5 hours, there was a line, a 4.5 hour line at my local boutique, wrapped all the way around a department store. I've seen lines at another luxury designer, Chanel, that are a good hour and a half, and people wait in those lines, and many of us have waited in those lines. I don't do that at my local store, but I've had to do it when I am out of town and I don't have any relationship with any fashion advisor at that store, right? We have no choice. We're waiting in the line if we want to go into the boutique. So there's something about the line that makes it feel as though we either are getting a key to some magical place, or there's something really incredibly exclusive in there, or it's worth standing in line for. The only other place I've seen lines like that where people are willing to wait is at Disneyland, at amusement parks, not at a boutique. So why are we allowing that to happen? If there's a line, walk away. That's been my last several month attitude. If there's a line outside the boutique and it's more than 2 or 3 minutes, I'm out. You're not servicing your clients, right? You either have more demand than you can handle and you need more people, or you're doing it on purpose. I don't know. There's something not right about it to me. It creates this air of exclusivity that I know, because I've been reading these articles in the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and so on, the brands want. And that makes sense for them to be able to increase their prices year over year, but it doesn't make sense for us as the consumer. And what does it make us feel like? Many of us, it makes us feel like we either have to buy something when we walk in, or we're so lucky to be able to be there. No, they are lucky that we are their customer. And I remember back in the day, I used to work in technology, and the first time I went into a Coach store, and the sales associate there was showing me a couple of different handbags, and I remember feeling like if she had taken 20 minutes to show me some bags and I didn't leave with something, which for a very young person's salary back then was a lot, that I had somehow wasted her time. So very early on, the brand somehow, and we're talking about Coach, we're not even talking about high-end luxury brands, they had somehow captured this feeling that there was an exclusivity about them, that I was wasting their time if I didn't purchase something. I remember not liking the bags much and buying something small just so I didn't feel like I was wasting the person's time. Now, I'm all for that, right? These sales associates, fashion advisors, they work really hard. Many of them have had their pay slashed or their commissions structures changed over the last few years. Honestly, it kind of sucks for them. I know many that have been laid off through kind of ridiculous stories, or have heard of them from legit people. And so they don't have, in my opinion, the most fun job. And they're dealing with a lot of people who act entitled and kind of like assholes, like we don't want to be when we go into a store. So there is definitely the responsibility to treat people's time with respect. And I'm not going to walk in and spend 2 hours with an Hermes sales associate if my intent is, to buy I don't know, pick something, right? One scarf and leave. I'll do that in 20 minutes, of course, but I'm not going to spend hours of someone's time doing that because I have more respect for their time than that. But that doesn't mean we don't belong there. And I think there's a big difference. It's like if I'm only have $500 today to buy a scarf, or I want to buy something for a friend or for a gift, somehow I don't belong because that's all I'm spending in quotes here. It's a lot. We work hard for our money. That's what this channel is really about, is finding the things that we really love by trying them on, by looking at them, examining the good, the bad, everything. So we don't waste our money. It's too hard to earn money to blow it on crap, right? So it's okay if you go in and you really want a great ready-to-wear piece and you just don't find it. To leave and say, thank you for your help. I'd love your card. Please let me know when you get something in that's more in line with what I've shared with you is my style. And develop the relationship with someone at a boutique, which I think is really crucial, that knows your style, is willing to help you find things, is eager to earn your business. And yes, it's okay that they have to earn our business. They're being paid to help us. And I don't mean that in some entitled, bitchy way. Those of you who have watched this since the beginning or have recently found my channel, you know that. That's the last thing, most genuinely self-deprecating person. I probably need therapy for it or something. But at the same time, the way that these fashion houses manage their brand and they buy 7 of something they know 3,000 people are going to want, why is that? Why is it, okay, I'm just using this tank top as an example. I don't really know how many they bought, okay? So let's say they bought 15 of these. And because it's inexpensive for the brand and it has a logo on it and it's black and white, the demand's going to be really high. Why didn't they buy? Almost every business, we try to equal supply and demand. Why is it they didn't buy or make as many as would be in demand? The answer from an economics perspective, and this is the professor side of me coming out, is because they have an alternative motive. It's not about the tank top, it's about the exclusivity. It's about getting you there so that anything you buy, somehow you end up on top, even if you didn't necessarily love the piece. How did retail become like that? Where we owe them something. And I think we all owe it to ourselves to revisit why we feel like that. That's just my 2 cents. Some tips to getting over the notion and what should you wear? I get asked that a lot. Maybe I didn't get the best service because of how I was dressed. Okay, so right now I'm in Chanel cashmere leggings and a tank top. Would I go into the store like this? Yep, absolutely. Not because it has a CC's, because I think it's fine. It's okay. Would I go in wearing Lululemon? No. Any athleisure? No, I wouldn't. That's me. Many people do, but it's really similar. This is what I've noticed in my time and we all have a cycle, right? Where we go through different designers at different stages in life or different income times and different times of income in life. That's normal. Brands expect it. It's called lifetime value of a customer. They want to keep us for life. Brands like Gap, who own many different boutiques or brand names, are really good at that. They have something for us at every stage. Take Louis Vuitton. They have something for you at a certain stage. At some point, a lot of people call it graduating to the next designer. Sometimes it's Chanel, Hermes, Loro Piano's starting to come into play a little bit more. Van Cleef's coming into play more recently, much more popular. Some of these things made popular by Instagram and not necessarily by other things. And we all have a cycle through life. Mine was after Gap and Macy's and so on as a young professional. I went from there to J. Crew, Banana Republic, Bloomingdale's. Actually, early on was Sears, like size 14 with lots of pins just to get my first job interview. Anything it takes, right? Like it's what we have to do. We had to do anything it takes to get to where we need to be or where we want to be. And at some point you start to elevate. I remember, I'm not a fan of Louis Vuitton. Very few pieces I actually like, not because I think they're less than Hermes or Chanel. Actually, their quality's better sometimes. It's not that, it's just not my thing. So we moved through, but it was for a long time. And we moved through different cycles. So for me, I've been in the Chanel Hermes stage for a little while, and I'm moving more into quiet luxury. I'm looking at designers that don't have their logos all over everything and are not trying to make everything so exclusive that we feel like we're losers if we couldn't score a white and black tank top. Why do we want to support a business that makes us feel like that? We support it because influencers do, and because we enjoy for me, I enjoy the fashion, I enjoy that part. And so the negative side of the industry has not overcome the positive side for me yet, but it might. And I know for many people it has in quiet luxury, where there aren't flashy logos and you only know if you know. And the quality's better and the price is lower. Sometimes, many times the price is lower. Sometimes those are actually better quality and investment pieces, and we love them for a really long time. And we don't have to worry about trying to sell them at some point because they didn't cost us an arm and a leg, and we don't have to sell it to pay our car payment next month, which we shouldn't be doing anyway. But what draws us into that? I think it's a really important question, and there's a lot of experts out there that talk about this. So I've noticed when I walk by Chanel line, people have Chanel masks on, like a studded mask from Etsy that has the CCs on it. And I don't know if they're trying to show loyalty to the brand to get better favor when they get in, better service to show they really care. I don't know what the thought behind that is. But just in general, one of my pieces of advice, if you're new to this or you're really wanting to check out luxury stores, but you're uncomfortable, is don't fake things and never bring a fake, right? I almost feel sorry for you. That's the last, we don't want anyone's pity, but there's almost they had to buy a fake, right? And it's not just in the store, just in general, think of what it is you're supporting. A lot of times it's terrorist activity, it's child labor. We shouldn't be supporting that industry or the fake market at all. I know it's even popular in the Upper East Side in New York. There's been articles about that where almost everyone is wearing a fake. I'm a huge proponent of never buying or wearing and actually just destroying them, fakes. That said, I see people walk into Chanel with a clearly fake bag or Hermes with a clearly fake bag. I mean, super obvious. Chanel has quality problems. We all know that. But if it's crooked by this much and the fake is crooked by that much with stitching all over the place and the leather looks really bad, it's clearly a fake, right? Even with the quality problem. So my recommendation is don't fake it. You don't have to fake it until you make it because there's nothing to make in there. You will establish relationships over time with sales associates or fashion advisors that you have a connection with and that want to take the time to get to know you, whether you are spending $1,000 a quarter or $50,000 a quarter. They're going to want that connection and want to build that relationship regardless. And many of them, this happened to me, they'll leave one store, they go to the next store, I get a text a few months later, hey, I now work for such and such, another store I now work for so-and-so. They want to keep that clientele and they're also advancing their career. So you're helping them too. And I think we often forget about that sometimes. If you walk out and you don't buy anything and you're spent 20, 30 minutes in there, does it suck they didn't get commission? Yes, of course. Or quota towards their requirements or however that brand works, that house works. But they did get paid to be there. So we shouldn't forget that in all of this, right? It's not like there was nothing. I know when I was in Paris, my fashion advisor said, the worst is when someone stands in line and I bring them in and they spend 2 or 3 hours and they only end up buying a card holder and they scrutinize the heck out of every stitch on that card holder. I get it. I'm not going to waste someone's time 3 hours over a card holder. No, I don't even look to see the stitching. It's so bad. But you still have a right to be there, and you still have a right to be treated well. And I said that to her too, you know, like, well, maybe that was their first purchase, or maybe they saved up for months to buy that card holder. So they really wanted it to be a kick-ass card holder. And she said, yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of it like that, but I still need to take so many clients during that time. So it's frustrating for them. So I can see both sides of it. I think the bottom line is we just have to have respect for each other's time. So if my intent is only to browse, to look at the current collection, I'm probably not going to buy. When I walk in, I will say that. I'm looking at the current collection. I don't want to waste your time. I'm just browsing. I just did this not that long ago at a boutique. I'm just browsing. So I'll let you know if I need any help so I don't waste your time. You can take another client. Now, some boutiques are not allowed to have more than one client at once. So it kind of sucks for them. They are stuck until we've made our choice, but you still shouldn't feel rushed. You have a right to window shop, and you have a right to be there, even if you're looking for next time or you're looking to get gift ideas. That's what shopping is all about. These retailers worry that everything will go online. Make it an inviting place for us to be, and we won't do that. Don't have a line that wraps around stores. Hire more people. What's the problem? From a P&L perspective, I don't get it. Don't wear fake stuff. So that's my first suggestion. I don't think any of us need to look like we're trying too hard. We can go overboard. I see this all the time. I'll see a woman or a man standing in line and maybe they do this all the time, so it's not different, but with everything conceivable, you know, the huge eyelashes, huge nails, tons of jewelry, you know, a double shirt, you know, it looks way, it looks like you dressed up just to be able to get into the store. You don't, if that's your normal style, that's great, but you don't need to dress up only to get into the store. Now that said, if you were going to a nice restaurant and you're wearing athleisure or gym clothes or whatever, not a fan of that. I'll be candid. I think that's not appropriate. I think gym clothes were made for the gym. This type of attire was casual attire. A lot of the pieces I wear on here, my suiting pieces, sweaters, they're made for a little more upscale. If I'm gonna go to dinner, I'm gonna wear something nice, a dress, right? And I know it can be hard with size inclusivity or exclusivity and there's a lot of reasons, but we can put in some effort. So I think that's what we should get to when we go into these boutiques. We don't need to be overdressed, but we are going to be treated different if we walk in looking like we will waste their time from the outset. And if I were the sales associate, I would also be quickly trying to assess how much effort and time should I spend versus the next client who may be able to help me with my quota or my commission. That's normal. It's human nature. That's the invisible hand at work, going back to Smith. But that does not mean that you should be treated poorly, that you should feel like you don't belong just because that day you happen to pop into the boutique when you're on your way to the gym or you didn't have time to change or on your way home from work. Maybe you work at a gym and you had on gym clothes. You still have a right to be there. And we have to get into the mindset of it's possible that the person helping us is going to make snap decisions about us. Right? We make decisions about other people in seconds. First impression. So first impression is still going to matter. And it's still there. But at the same time, we have to get out of the mindset that we shouldn't go at all just because we're not dressed up today. I have heard women in line apologize. I'm so sorry I'm dressed like this today. If you could help me anyway, I'd appreciate it. What? If you're that embarrassed, change. If you're not, go in and hold your head high. And show confidence, because that's going to show more than even your outfit, in my opinion. You have to act like you belong there to belong there. And the best way to get a taste of the next level up that you want to be at is to just do it anyway. Push yourself. We encourage people to do that, dress for the part they want, not the part they have, or dress for the job they want, not the job they have, in every area except this. Why is that? We ever ask ourselves that? Maybe the fashion houses want us to feel like that. They don't want the people dressed in gym clothes because they're perceived to not be spending as much money. I've also seen, particularly gentlemen, go in complete athleisure and drop 50, 60 grand at once. So it's very hard in today's climate where people really wear just about anything. In the US, overseas it's not really true, but in the US, where just about anything. It's hard to make those snap judgments about people, and it shouldn't be happening to us, although it's human nature. So my advice, don't wear fakes. Don't, just be yourself. Put a little bit of effort in, and that's enough. That should be enough. I also was asked by my ex-husband, actually. He said, I went into Chanel and I couldn't stand it after standing in line for an hour. And in my head, I'm like, I'll get you an appointment next time. But it wasn't about that. And by the way, once you make contact with a sales associate, you or fashion advisor, make an appointment. Don't stand in the line. Don't stand in the line. Make an appointment. Just text them. I'm going to be at the mall in 3 hours. Do you have time? I'm going to be at the mall in 2 days on Tuesday. Sometime next week, I'd like to come in. What works for you? Whatever kind of relationship you have with that fashion advisor or sales associate, make the connection ahead of time. Let them know what you're looking for. Give them an opportunity to find it, source it, bring it in from another store. It frees up your time and it doesn't waste their time, and everyone's happy. But he said, I waited in line. I'm assuming he was buying a gift for someone. And he went into the store and he said, I was hounded. That's how he said it. I was hounded. And my 12-year-old's like, what does hounded mean? Like, is it a bad thing? Well, basically he felt, and he was, followed around intensely by the sales associate, the fashion advisor. And he said, it just made my skin crawl. I just wanted to get out of there. So I said, why didn't you just say, I don't really know what I want and I don't want to waste your time. So if you could just give me 20 minutes to browse, I'll come find you when I'm ready. He was like, oh shit, next time I'll say that. So that's my advice, is if you feel like that, you feel like they're following your every move, they're usually not doing it because they think you're stealing. I know a lot of people think that. And yes, that does happen sometimes, but these places have security looking for that. They don't need the fashion advisors to be following you around to see if you're going to sneak a card case. That's generally not how it works. It's mostly because they're trying to make sure that they're taking care of you, that they're answering any questions that you have, that they get their commission. And yes, that you're in and out of there in a reasonable amount of time. But it's also okay to say, I'm just browsing and I would like a little bit of space. I would like a little bit of space. So I would encourage you to do that. If you feel like they're too close or in your face, say something. You don't have to be quiet about that. So the last quick thing I'll talk about is pressure to buy. I have an assistant who doesn't even want to do returns for me at the store because she feels a pressure to buy from fashion advisors. Now, when I ask her, who pressured you? There's no answer. She doesn't have an answer. She just feels the pressure to buy. I think that's part of imposter syndrome, feeling like we don't belong, we're not good enough to be there. Everyone will find out that we're fake. Everyone will find out that we don't belong when we check out and we don't have a bag in our hand and we go through the door on the way out and the line is looking at us and the security's looking at us and we don't have a bag. So what? Could have been shipped to your home. Maybe you didn't find anything that day. It's okay also to say, thank you for your time. I didn't find anything that I love today, but I'd love to get your contact information, stay in touch, and send you photos of what I like. Or maybe you can send me photos of what comes in. Wait a few hours, not after hours, during business hours. Send them a text, introduce yourself. Sometimes I send a photo of myself to remind them of what I look like if I just met them. Thank you for your time today. Again, I wish I had found something, not being apologetic, but past the first time. I wish I had found something. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I wanted to give you some ideas of some things I love. And maybe you can tell me when you get some things in. And if you're there to return something and that's your only goal, don't feel bad about it. You're returning because you bought something, right? So you maybe bought 10 things and you're returning one, or you bought one and you're returning one. Either way, you have a right to do that too. And the imposter syndrome thing that we all experience, we can use it to our benefit, which is a way to get uncomfortable and be in an uncomfortable space so we can improve our game. And what I mean by that is in the sense of get out of our comfort zone. And even if you're never going to go to that store again, nothing there excites you. It's happened to me, many different designers. I'm like, I won't be back here. Sometimes like 10 years later, they're more my style. And then I ended up going back, but that actually happened recently. When that happens, just remember that there's no part of us that doesn't belong in a place just because the brand in Europe somewhere tried to make something exclusive for the sake of increasing the price or making our demand higher, therefore increasing its perceived value and not its actual value. And I think of everything, that's probably the takeaway. I remember bringing my she's not 12, but bringing my daughter into different boutiques when, when she was younger, when I was shopping with her, or when she was with me and I was shopping, or even as of late, she used to, people had on uniforms and they looked not so friendly, or as she said one time, they did this to me. She was fresh off the school playground, and it goes to like, what do we wear? She was fresh off the school playground. I had to pick her up and take her from school to the mall. It was not optimal, but I wasn't going to pop into Nordstrom and buy her an outfit just to go to Hermes. I'm sorry. And they did this to her. I think we've all felt like that, the quick eye glances. And she felt uncomfortable, and she said, can we get out of here right away? Why? She's looking at me weird. Okay. She's probably wondering what you were doing for the day to have paint all over your body. Or maybe she was judging you as a 12-year-old, in which case, shame on her, right? However, this is kind of funny, I have walked into a brand, a designer, and this happened at Hermes, and it was quite some time ago, and I said, I was wearing a Chanel bag, and the fashion advisor was not my normal fashion advisor, although she's done it too, looked me up and down and then stared at my bag. I see women in line, they have all sorts of designers on, they seem almost interchangeable in the sense that we wear a Chanel jacket with an Hermes bag. I mean, the jacket I wear most often from Chanel has the best Vert Fizz Constance bag that matches it. And there's no shame in mixing designers. I think that's a really good thing. But there was this looking at my bag. So my reason, I got really pissed off actually, because it was an excessively long stare and it was judgmental. And we can get a sense, we feel, right? And we have to figure out, is it us judging us and putting it on them, or are they really judging us? In that case, I think I've thought about it enough. It was definitely a judgment on their part. So I said to her, if I had had my wish list bag by now, I wouldn't be carrying this one. I mean, and then she actually laughed, like, okay. First of all, she was busted because I caught her staring at my bag, which was totally inappropriate and not cool and rude. And second, and she wasn't looking at it in a good way. And second, it was like a reminder of, hey, I have a good purchase history here, and I have not been able to get the bag I really love. So can you help me out? Can you help a sister out? So we can turn some of their nonsense into humor. And I think when we're authentic like that and just genuine, which is the biggest key to all this, just be yourself, you'll be invited to events, you'll be invited to sales, you'll know more, you won't be treated in an awkward way, you'll walk in with more confidence. My next level is trying to go to events. I get invited to events by just different designers and not just the obvious ones that you've seen on my channel. And those are hard for me because a lot of I only spend my own income, and a lot of the people there are, no offense if any of you are in this position, there might be something to it and I've been doing it wrong all this time. But a lot of people there are trust fund babies. That's not their own fault, or basically they're doing anything but spending their own money. They found a wealthy spouse, etc. So when I talk with them, I like to talk about things that have some meaning and depth, and their experience is limited because they've been kind of confined to serving someone else or someone else's needs. So I find I don't connect with them very well, or the conversations are too superficial. So I don't know what to say on a superficial level. And it's why I don't have a wide circle of friends. And so I think that there's something to be, like for me, my next level of having to kick myself into, and maybe it's a bad one, but is to being able to just talk about the weather and being okay with that. There's some value in just connecting with people at these events who I don't have anything in common with, and most of them are not using their own income. They don't know what it's like to struggle to buy a bag. They don't know what it's like to have to pay interest on it. And it can get tough to sit at a table and maybe we've been to the same places and they're joking about how, their husband worked so hard for everything for them and they got to enjoy it all and how cool that was. And then usually their question to me is, what does your husband do? I'm like, I'm not married, first of all. And second of all, that's just not my way of going about life. There's something wrong with it. It's just not, I think women on a whole other topic, women are trapped if they're beholden to a man for his money. If they need him to pay the bills, they don't have as much freedom with who they choose to be with. So I'm not a fan of that in general. And I just mean that for my own daughter and for myself. No judgment on anyone else. If it's your way, go for it. I think that's your thing. Awesome. And I truly mean that. Everyone for themselves, whatever makes you happy. As my daughter says, you do you. And it's not judgmental. Please don't misunderstand that. But how my own values work and what I want to instill in my daughter is if you don't have your own career and your own job and you can't pay for things entirely on your own, you may end up, not always, many wealthy women through their husbands are treated exceptionally well. I just saw it at Chanel the other day. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, can the guy get any more amazing to her? At least on the outside, who knows what happens behind closed doors, but we never know, right? What really happens in people's lives. And one of the reasons we all need to be kind to each other. But I think that women in particular, and not so much men, if they don't have 100% of their expenses covered by themselves, even if it meant they had to move, but they can cover their own life, they will tend to settle for less than they deserve from the man. And I do not want my 12-year-old growing up ever feeling like she can't leave a situation because she needs a man's income to survive, even if they had 15 children together. You got to be able to be self-sufficient. So that's just my 2 cents. Now, when I go to these events, in my opinion, so when I go to these events where almost everyone there is the opposite of me, I feel I'm big time the outsider. What do? They're like, and I have literally had people at these events say, you have a job? Yes. Did you go to school? For a lot of years. Really? And then someone will come by and, and they'll sort of figure something out. And they feel sorry for me. They genuinely feel pity. Like, oh, I had a person say at an event, it's kind of a funny story, say, I feel so bad because you're pretty and you have to work. How else am I supposed to pay my bills? So because of that, I can't connect with a lot of these people. But I want to, because I have imposter syndrome, because I don't belong there, right? I'm not made by someone else, I guess, in that regard. And so we all have the next level we have to push ourselves to. So you have to find something to connect with someone on. And a lot of times, maybe they feel exactly like I mentioned. Maybe they're in a shitty relationship, but because their husband's making all the money, they can't leave and they don't want to talk about it. So if I can get past the superficial crap to things that matter, now I can connect with them. That's my personal goal now for the whole rest of this year and probably for many years to come, is to connect when there isn't anything to connect on. How do you do that? I don't know the answer to that question yet. So that just is my example of imposter syndrome. Even if you're in the boutiques and you're invited to events and you're doing all these things that look very glamorous from the outside, deep inside, I feel nauseous before I go in. Like either I don't belong or I'm not good enough. I didn't spend enough. I'm not as pretty as them. I don't have the same body as them. I don't have the same income as them, etc. I am not good enough for blah, 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 blah. So we all have imposter syndrome to some degree, almost all of us. Those of you who don't, God bless you. The key is to get over it. And I want you all, going back to original topic, this ended up being a therapy session, going back to our original topic, to feel comfortable in your own skin, to walk into these designers, feel confident, know that you belong there, treat people with respect, don't waste their time, ask them not to waste yours, be honest, be direct, communicate, be kind, be friendly, look your best if you can, if you have the opportunity, and don't wear fakes, and you don't have to be someone that you're not to fit in. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is much longer and way different than anything I've ever done and much more personal. I know some of you will say, shut the heck up or worse, and others will appreciate this, but haters will hate, and that's okay. So have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. I hope if you find this or any of my videos useful, funny, entertaining, helpful, or anything else, that you'll consider subscribing, consider liking, or share either my channel or my video with someone that you think may benefit from this. Have a wonderful one.